Inner Show is a live broadcast of truth seekers and believers empowering the evolution of consciousness. Raphael and Celeste will dive deeper than the mainstream media while answering the mind's deeper questions and transforming conversations. They will have unique guest speakers who will share knowledge, tools, and techniques to create coherence in our mind, body, and spirit.
Good evening, Australia.
That's right. And good morning to New York. How are you, Raphael?
I am, like I always tell you, exceptional, and every day I get better. And when you ask me tomorrow, I hope not. Then, actually, I don't have to hope. I know I will be better.
Oh, that's right. With the right good intuitions, if you let them flow and with the right intentions, everything
right.
will unfold.
Exactly.
So today we actually have an amazing guest speaker, Simmone Cooper. She's a world traveled, extraordinary artist, singer, and DJ. And she's in the line trying to jump onto the StreamYard at the moment, Raphael. So while I keep everyone entertained, can you maybe do your technical brains and try and see if you can get her on?
Sure. So what
It's live in Sydney.
we need to do is where? Go where? Where am I going?
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to send the right energy to her.
Yes.
Right? I don't have any like her email or stuff like that, but I know that she is on LinkedIn. Let me type in LinkedIn.
Maybe get her to jump in through there.
Yeah.
Today's subject was really about vibration and singing. And singing also means any words you give out from yourself. And I believe that a lot of people are very aware, like, be careful the words you speak and how you speak to someone. But it's not just about how you say to someone else. This is also about how you speak to yourself in your own mind. And so vibration is sort of the frequency that we are not allowed to underestimate. And when it comes to mental health, it is just so wonderful to actually realize that singing and even speaking poems actually will support your neurotransmitters to create more happiness. That is if you actually singing very, very positive, good lyrics and good songs, right? You've got a very concentrated face.
Well, that's because I'm reading. I just sent her the link, and she says she can't find it. So it's not me having technical difficulties.
No, I know. I tell you what, here in Australia, our show jumped like in 3 different time zones over the last few months. And I sort of think to myself, isn't the world spinning in the same time? Like, how come we constantly have different time differences? But here we are.
Well, it's just a matter of clicking on the link. I'm just going to tell her, click.
Yes, please.
On the link. And I'll say the word, please. When we think about vibrations, when we think about energy, when you talked about reading, we have Simmone.
Yes,
Simmone, we got the right vibrations.
Hi, guys. Sorry. It was asking me to download Google Chrome, and I was like, I already did that last week when we spoke, so it just wasn't reading it. I hadn't put it into the applications, but I'm here. How are we? Sorry for today.
Hello.
Hi, Sif.
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Likewise. So we have so much to cover today, and we understand that vibrations, that having good vibes, if you will, is what makes so many people, especially good vibes, right? Because we can have bad vibes, but the good vibes is all about the right energy, right?
Yeah.
And about vibes.
That's right. I really have to say, Simmone, obviously, besides being one of your amazing friends, and I adore you and love you, but my God, when you dance to her DJing, you feel the vibration. You don't just hear the music, you feel it. And the singing, I wish you could see on camera. I actually just got goosebumps just saying how amazing you can feel Miss Cooper. So, and the singing as well. So I'm so glad you're here. You know, it's really good. I can show off my amazing friends.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me on for such a beautiful topic, because it's something very dear to my heart. And yeah, I want more people to understand how healing music is, and to be able to have access to that, you know. And I think that on a general perspective, people know that, but on a more in-depth, like, how they can access it themselves, they don't actually have that knowledge sometimes. And so, you know, it's a beautiful thing that we can bring healing and happiness and joy to people's lives through music. So yeah, I'm excited about the topic. Let me just do one quick thing once.
That's good.
I feel like that lighting might be a bit warmer. That's better.
Yes, I love the hair, by the way. You've gone a little bit shorter again, have you?
And yeah, I just keep cutting it and cutting it.
I thought you were talking about my hair. Okay, all right.
You've got way shorter to go, way shorter.
Right.
So how are we? How are you guys doing today?
Well, when we think about how we're doing, it's how we feel, right? And you know, you talked about hair, you talk about clothing, you talk about cleansing. For me, I like that cup. Cleansing.
It goes
So,
with one's hair. I just
but that's all vibrational, isn't it? When we
Yeah.
think about how we feel, and when you ask, how do you feel? You know, a lot of times people, there's a difference of how you feel and how you're doing,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, 100%.
So how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I feel like I'm lifting my vibrational energy through different situations. So it is a conscious thing for me that even if I'm not doing great, that I try to lift my vibrational energy so I feel better. And maybe that's just through meditation. Maybe that's through taking a walk along the beach. Maybe it's, you know, chatting to a friend on the phone and lifting my spirits through laughter, watching a silly TV program that lifts my spirits. Or for me, a lot of the time it's music and singing, you know, sometimes just singing around the house to a new song that I'm working on, or
Nice.
just brings me joy. It just lifts my spirits. So yeah, that's a good separation between feeling and doing. Yeah. So sometimes I'm not doing great, you know, like right now I've just found out that that my flat is being sold, so I'm going to have to look at other accommodations. So if you ask me how I'm doing, you know, I'm like, oh, my world's upside down. I might have to move, etc., etc. But how I'm feeling can be very different based on what we intentionally set. And again, I try to talk to a lot of my students and to just friends in general about this, how we can shift our vibrational energy. Something I learned many years ago. We can shift our vibrational energy, you know, in 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes of doing something that sparks joy and brings us joy. And you can actually shift that emotion of, you know, sadness or overwhelm or depression or, you know, just whatever that mood you're in, by doing something that sparks joy in you to lift that vibrational energy. And singing is a really, you know, I know obviously I'm on here today to talk about music, but I'll just keep going back to that because it is my thing. There are times, you know, you're sitting in traffic in the car, it's crazy busy,
Sydney,
you're running, yeah, or New York or anywhere.
Yes.
sitting in traffic, it's, you know, it's gridlock, you're running late to something, whatever, you know, your favorite song comes on the radio, you start singing along, and all of a sudden everything disappears, and you're in this like little bubble of, I'm just in that moment. And that's for me the miracle of the type of healing that music can bring, that lyrics, that songwriting, that, you know, can take you just to a place in a moment, you know. So yeah, I absolutely love that it is something that is so transformational in moments, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could take us sometimes half an hour of really deep-seated meditation to get what we can get within 3 minutes of a song on the radio that just lifts our spirit.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
true.
when we think about like music does change our mood, right?
Mm.
Because all of a sudden, if you're going through a breakup and people are just going to listen to that type of song, they're like, oh, all down.
Yeah.
But you're right, because music, for me, I don't know, I'm Colombian. I love to move.
Yeah.
I'm a mover and a shaker. I can go anywhere. Like, let's say I'm at a wedding, right? And the music stinks. I'm like, oh man, I wish they would pick it up. Or the music like kicks up a notch. I'm like, I need to start moving. I need to start moving.
Yeah.
And then what winds up happening, I might have my date, I might have, you know, I might be there with friends, whatever. I want to get up and dance. And a lot of times people at the table, they're shy
Yeah.
and they don't want to dance. So I'm like, I'll find somebody. Somebody's going to dance with me. So I'll start dancing. And usually when I go to weddings, once I sit down, I get a bunch of little old ladies go, "Can I dance with him? Can I dance?" I'm like, of course I'm gonna. So I wind up dancing all night when I go to weddings, because if my date doesn't want to dance, I will always find somebody who wants to dance, because they
Yeah.
see my energy,
Yeah.
and it's like, wow.
They
And
feel
I
your
just, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
especially when it's got that beat, you know, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It's like I feel it in my heart. So my body, you know, starts to pick up that beat, and
Yeah.
it's incredible. It really is.
And that's the thing, like as a DJ as well, like I sometimes go to a venue, and I've seen lots of my friends say the same thing, even though they're not DJs. If you're in a venue and the music's just not right for you, for your
Mm.
taste, and you're
For your
not vibing it, and it's not in your, yeah, it's not like thing, or the DJ just isn't reading the room, and it's not, you know, it can change the course of your whole night, you know. Like
Mhm.
I've left venues where my
Yeah.
friends have been up just because I just could not connect with the music. It wasn't my vibe. And I'm like, what am I, you know, there's no point being here. For me, if I go out to socialize with my friends, to dance, to have that, you know, that energy lift. And if
Mhm.
I'm not getting that from the music, then there's no point in me being there. And so I feel like that on a similar level as your, you know, wedding story, you know, if that bit starts to pick up and you're feeling that groove, it's like you've got to get up. You know, you're Colombian, as you said, that Latino in you, that rhythmic sort of, it's like it's born in you, you know, like the same with like tribal, like, you know, original indigenous tribal music is all rhythm and beats and you know,
Mhm.
chanting, etc. And it is it becomes like you go into this it's hypnotizing, you know, and then all of a sudden it's like I can't not move. So
Yeah. Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's beautiful, you know. It is that is again boiling back to the healing part of it. You know, when you look at indigenous cultures, uh, whenever someone was ill, they'd put,
Yeah.
you know, a ceremonial type of thing, and they'd all stand or dance or sit around the person that was ill, and they would chant and they would create rhythm and they would sing and they would invoke healing spirits, etc., into this ceremonial situation, and heal the person that was ill through sound healing, through rhythmic, you know. And I mean, they've been doing that for centuries before us,
Mm.
decades and centuries before. um And so this is why now we look into frequency in music. You know, there are different frequencies that invoke different emotive states in ourselves. And, you know, like there's the 432 hertz. So 432 hertz is a love frequency. It's a heart chakra opening frequency. And when you're listening to music in that frequency, it does invoke this beautiful love, heart opening emotion, you know, in yourself. And then similarly, years ago, they did some research into the CIA, and I'm not going to go down too much down the conspiracy.
Oh yes,
But
please.
they did some research that they actually changed the frequency in music, right? They did this on purpose because the frequency that it was in was very like heart opening, very love frequency. And they changed the frequency up to put everyone in a bit of a state of like this awkward, like, oh, it's sorry?
Edginess, to feel edgy and agitated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when people are agitated, they're not communal, they're not as one. Yeah. So this agitation and this like sort of thing. And they made like this new frequency that all radio, all songs on the radio, everything had to be produced in this frequency. You can read it up. It's very, very interesting. Very
It's almost
interesting.
scary. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was like dictatorship, you know, it's like, you know, we went from being this society that were listening to these frequencies and alchemy, etc., into being forced to like all music had to be within this frequency. And so obviously over time, like people that know this have gone back to producing music within 432 hertz and, you know, these beautiful love opening heart opening chakra heart chakra opening frequencies. And you know, this has become this thing now, you know, but there are still many, you know, a lot of music that's produced in this frequency that's just like, and if you put them next to each other, they sound out. One of them sounds
Wow.
yeah.
My
Yeah.
God.
So it's really intriguing.
I won't obviously say the name of the production, but I've worked for, you know, some bigger stars, and I did a few seasons where I did concerts and not just beautiful classical ballets and operas and orchestras, but I did do a few years of big concerts. But I was asked to go on tour further after working 1 month for this very famous big singer, and that person's still very famous nowadays. But I felt very ill. I was very fatigued, more than usual. And I felt almost cranky and agitated. And then I took my time to really listen to all the lyrics. And the lyrics were very sexual. And that's not what you want to have every day as well. And it was very direct in terms of also a little bit satanistic, so Satan music. And this is a big call. That's why obviously I won't say the artist's name because we'd be shut down probably, you know, within 10 minutes. But I was just so aware the comparison to working with an orchestra or Tchaikovsky music, the Nutcracker for Christmas, you know, and then working on this big concert, I was very emotionally drained after the month, and I knew to say no. And when you still now look at that person's costumes, choreography, the music, the lyrics, I do believe that it's very manipulating, and it drags people into darkness. And I find when people say, oh, that's so into conspiracy, you know, bad music and good music. And I really want to put out today on this show, it's not conspiracy. You need to be incredibly aware of the vibration of the music. As you said, Simonne, how it's actually produced. What are the lyrics? And if you sing the lyrics, what is it going to do to your own mind, your body, mind, and soul? Because if you're speaking bad words, your heart chakra can't vibrate. So I learned the biggest lesson in my life, and I'm so happy to say I saw the signals. I felt the signals, like I felt it.
Mm.
And I went straight back to classical ballets and operas. I prefer
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And that's, that's the important thing, is that we don't ever want to be in a situation as humans, like, consciously, we don't
Mm.
ever want to be in a situation where something is negatively impacting you or bringing you down, etc. And yeah, it is really quite an important note and a key that you've highlighted, that lyrics can change the course of everything. But again, the frequency of that music and what's being put out can
Yeah.
just change, someone's mood. And similarly, the opposite, beautiful heartfelt lyrics in a 432 hertz in a heart chakra opening frequency can just lift you. Like,
Mm.
if you listen to, sometimes just when I'm at home, I just have on binaural beats in the background, 432 hertz binaural beats. And, there's different frequencies of different binaural beats that you can have. Some are for like lifting your mood, some are for concentration when you're studying. You can have it on in the background while you're just doing emails, etc. And you will notice the difference. Like, it's very, very minimal when you don't know in the beginning, but then you'll notice a productivity change, or your mood lift, or it's incredible. And I want more people to learn and to know about it. So yeah,
That's very, very interesting. That, by the way, Sinette Van Breda,
I
love
know.
your
Thank
energy,
you,
Simone.
Jeanette.
So thank you so much for
hi
joining us this
Sinette.
morning.
Thank you, beautiful. I'm seeing little messages now down the bottom. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Hi Sinette. Where are you
So,
tuning in from?
yeah, definitely let us know where you're tuning in from. But here's
Yeah.
the thing: when you talk about the lyrics, right? Because words have power.
Mhm.
Words have power, and if you and like both of you have spoken about the power of the lyrics, the words, and Celeste, you talked about when you were saying the words, how they make you feel, and that's when you have the words have intentions.
Mm.
Where do they drive you? And so one of the things that we were talking earlier before you were able to log on, Simone, uh, when we were trying to get you on, and Celeste is like, find a way to get her on. We need her
Yeah.
energy, right? But she also said to me, how are you? And one of the things that I have been doing for like months now is I always tell people when they ask me how am I doing, I say exceptional. Because
Ah,
just telling myself I'm exceptional and then the words that I use afterwards make me feel that way. Because then I say I'm exceptional and I'm getting better every day. So
amazing.
that right there tells me that I cannot be in a down state. I want to be in an up state so that I can get better. And so if I start feeling like down, I'm like, wait a minute, I can't be because I'm
I'm
exceptional.
exceptional.
And I have to get
Marvelous.
better. So I'm constantly looking at, so my mindset is, okay, that's good. What's better?
Yeah.
So the words that we use for ourselves are going to truly guide us, if you will, right? So when we think about everything, so she's from Johannesburg, by the way, South
Oh,
Africa.
wow.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining
Thanks
us.
for tuning in, gorgeous.
Yeah. So every word that you hear, like if somebody says you're ugly and you internalize that, then what do you feel? How do you see yourself? But if somebody says, like you, Simone, just said to Sanette, you're gorgeous, right? How is she gonna feel? She's like
Yeah.
gonna go, oh, I am gorgeous. I am
Yeah.
beautiful. I am loved, right? So it's the words that we not only speak to ourselves, but the ones that we put out. So the intentions, how do we show up? And Celeste and I did a show on how to show up, right? And how do you show up when you walk into a room? Are you the life of the party, or you're the one in the corner? You're the one in the corner, with the head down. So showing up, how do you show up when you enter a room, when you enter an environment? How do you enter?
Yeah, with a big smile and a big hat.
I love hats. But yeah, I think like just going back to the usage of words, it's like, Abraham Hicks does say a very similar thing with the law of attraction. It's like what you're putting out there, you walk into. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to have already happened. But if you put it out there that I'm exceptional, then it's almost like you're telling yourself, I've got to live up to that. Oh, I love hats too, isn't it?
Well, Simonne, or you often wear extraordinary hats when you're DJ. And I always just think, how can she keep it on her head? Because she's moving and she's looking down and she's singing and she's moving. And I'm like, how do you do it?
I love hats. Yeah, no, I keep them on somehow. They come off now and again. But yeah, just back to the stepping into, like you were saying about the exceptional part. It's like we can sometimes, and this is where neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, is very important, where you have to catch yourself out. If you're saying something that's talking down about yourself, or, even a limiting self-belief, I can't do that. Maybe I'm not good enough to do that. It's those moments of catching that and saying, to yourself, it doesn't have to be even externally. Sometimes it's even just in your own head. Like, of course I can do this. I was made for this. Talking yourself into a position right before you even know you can, do it. And there was a Richard Branson quote that I've always loved. And he said, if someone asks you if you can do something, say yeah. And if someone asks you if you can do something and you're not sure if you can, say yes and learn along the way. And I was talking to a girlfriend the other day, and she said she's been procrastinating about coming to talk to me about collaborating on a business idea because she didn't think she was ready. She didn't think that she could do it, and she wasn't ready. And I told her that quote and how it impacted me years ago when I heard it, because it's so true. We are the only thing stopping ourselves from doing anything, and this is one thing we don't really realize as humans. We go through life thinking that there's money in the way, or, finances, or, we live on the wrong side of the world, or there's all these blockages that we put in our way. But those blockages are ourselves. Because if you really, we've seen this time and time again from millions of entrepreneurs, or, just driven people in general, artists, whatever, that have not let their own limiting self-beliefs stop them. They've not let blocks get in their way. They've just said, I want that and I'm going for it. And they've gone for it. And so with the mood thing, Sifu, just back to your exceptional thing, it's like we can do the same. We can say to ourselves, I'm exceptional. I feel exceptional. And then there might be varying degrees of that exceptional. Some days you're exceptional, some days you're exceptional, some days you're, and you just have to bring yourself. You just have to bring yourself, like you said earlier, back into when you're having those days where you're doubting, or you're, because we're humans, that's going to happen. Humans. And there's going to be days where you're not as exceptional as another day, but it's like bringing yourself back into, how can I make myself feel back in that energetic zone of, I feel exceptional. Yeah. And it's finding ways. And sometimes it's through, beautiful poetry. Sometimes it's through music. Sometimes it's through singing. Sometimes it's, like I said, even watching a silly TV show that just makes you laugh, and it lifts that vibration until you're out of that dark moment or that out of, and I, I try and do this as often as possible. And I tell friends, when you get into those dark moments and just everything seems in overwhelm, flip the switch, find a way to just take your mind, because a lot of the time it's all here, obviously everything comes from our heart, but this is what causes all the cloudiness, so if we can lift our spirits by finding a way to change, to flip the switch, I call it, and just change that vibrational energy from feeling in overwhelm to, right, okay, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling exceptional.
Simmone, I used to be a bouncer in New York City, and I used to bounce at different clubs, right?
Yep.
And there was one club that I used to love to be in, because it was a smaller club, and it was, you as a bouncer, you had to, fights broke out all the time, but the vibration in the room, the whole, everybody, you could not be in the room without doing this, because people were up against you from all over, and the whole room, everybody.
What was the club called?
The name of the club was the Lemon Tree, believe it or not. It's not the hair cutting place. And it was in the basement, and they had like these things that looked like trees, and there was lemons coming down from the ceiling. It was so much fun. But the DJs knew that in order to be a DJ in this particular club, the vibes had to be super energy. You walked in there and it was the whole room.
Amazing.
And it was just amazing. One of the things that, and you talked about the way we feel, the words we say to ourselves. I teach children public speaking. So one of the things that I'm always telling them is, each word that you use as a public speaker is going to make a difference to your audience, how you capture them, how you entice them, how you drive them, where do you want to take them, right? And then I also teach them about storytelling, because storytelling is how we can get somebody to experience something, right? Yeah. So before I was talking about weddings, I got to tell you, one of my favorite weddings was an Indian wedding. The music, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right. But here's the funniest thing. Yeah. But here's the coolest. This was the coolest thing. The food, I love the food. The food was beyond, right? And you see like little old ladies, little old man, and they're just like walking. But when the music kicked in, they were jamming. And I mean, moving. And I was like, she's got to be 90. And she's up there with me, and she's going for it. And I'm like, what? This is incredible. And so the vibration alone allowed them from like walking like a little old person to moving like an 18-year-old. And that was beautiful to see.
I mean, I love that story. I've been to an Indian wedding, so I know exactly what you were talking about. I lived in India for like 9 months years ago, so I got to experience that as well, and it was beautiful. But on another note of that, which is something I really wanted to touch. I love you, Jeanette. You're my favorite. Yeah, like the one thing I really wanted to touch on as well in today's chat was about how music can be really important to dementia patients and, people that are having issues with cognitive, nonverbal, etc. And your story just reminded me about that as well. It's just so true. You can see these little old people that are maybe suffering from dementia. They're in nursing homes or, maybe a facility where they're being taken care of, and they're nonverbal. Like they cannot speak. They're frustrated because they're having blackout moments where they can't remember what happened 5 minutes ago. They don't know who they're talking to. they're forgetting, their family spaces, etc. And then all of a sudden, through music therapy, they put in music from their era. They might be from the 30s or the 40s or something. And they put on music, their favorite songs. And all of a sudden, they literally are back in the room. They're having a conversation with you. These are non-verbal patients. Yeah. They are having a conversation. They're transported back to the 1930s or, 20s or wherever. And they're literally compass mentors in the room having a conversation. That for me is just mind-blowing. It's such a beautiful thing to know that music has that much healing power that can take someone that is completely nonverbal back to a state and bring them back to life again. And so in your comments, you feel about the 90-year-old getting up and dancing, like on a little crutch, and then all of a sudden song that they love comes on and they're up there doing the Bhangra. I mean, again, this just boils back to how beautifully powerful music is in a healing state. So, I'm so honored and grateful to be able to do this for a job. It's like, I think with any musician that listens to this or tunes in or DJ, there's so many times throughout your career where you stop. I mean, I've had an over 30-year career now. I think this year it's my 32nd year professionally, but I started when I was 13, also working like, part-time, but as my full-time job, from the age of 16. But the thing that's been really, I suppose, quite confronting throughout the course of any musician's career is, should I get a real job? And when I say a real job, this is a real job, but we have so many ebbs and flows and ups and downs and moments of like, you're super busy and then all of a sudden, the phone's not ringing, and then, we go through those. And there were so many times where I think throughout any musician or like artist's career, where you question that. Should I be doing something else? Should I start a business? Should I do this? Should I do that? And what I want to say in those moments is, like, I've been really lucky whenever I've gotten to that point in my career, the phone's rung the next day and it's been a really big gig or something beautiful, an opportunity to join an orchestra or to do something. And I've just been like, okay, I'm listening, universe. Like, I get it. It's like we can have those moments where you question things. Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And then the universe says, no, you're on the right path. Just stick with it. And I feel that in those moments, again, I boil back to, I'm just so grateful. Like, I get to make people smile and have a good time and dance for my job. And yes, it's not always easy, and that's the point I've just made. It's not always easy. There's times where it's like, what am I doing? But then I look out at that dance floor and I see smiles on people's faces, and I see that, and I see also just, people like come to me after a gig and say, oh my God, that music, it was so, and like, those moments make up for every questioning moment and those dark, those lull moments where you're like, I can't pay my rent this week or whatever. It literally is such a gift what we bring to people through music. So I just want to put that out there to anyone who is listening in that, is an artist or maybe going through moments where you're questioning, should I do this? Yes, you should be doing it. You're bringing joy to people. You're making people's lives better. God's plan is much more than we can imagine. Yeah, exactly. And so when we tap into that as artists, when we tap into the gift and the joy that we're bringing through our music, whether it's songwriting, whether it's just playing music as a DJ, whether it's playing music as a live musician, other people's music or your own, it doesn't matter. You're still bringing joy to people. You're still bringing that light and lifting. And for that moment while they're there transformed, hypnotized in the music or whatever. They're not thinking about their bills. They're not thinking about their horrible boss at work. They're not thinking about the traffic jam they got into on the way to work this morning. They're not thinking about all of these things that can lower your energy. They're there, they're transfixed, they're in the moment, they're enjoying the music, they're enjoying the lyrics, they're enjoying whatever it is. And it is, just such a beautiful thing. So
I love the
rant.
I love when you talked about you're living in the moment, because a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
But I want to take a quick second and share with you guys what we're doing in New York, right, Celeste? Take a look. Take a look.
Heroes Rising Apex is the highly anticipated business event of the year. This gathering of industry leaders, entrepreneurs, authors, and visionaries promises to be a game-changing experience that will inspire, educate, and provide networking opportunities. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of innovation, strategy, and collaboration as we embark on an unforgettable journey of learning, growth, and success. Join us in New York on July 14th through the 16th. Go to heroesrisingapex.com for tickets.
Energy. We want you in New York.
There is still that best part with the Marvel Avengers with the cape flying in the background. That's still my favorite. When Simonne, you were talking about the dancing and the moving and the singing, and in that moment, they're not thinking about their problems because they're in the present. And that really goes back to the mental health side of working in the music industry. And I've had many parents over the years say to me, oh gosh, my daughter wants to work in theatre, and we all in the banking industry, I just don't think it's going to be a good career, and what's the point of it? And I sort of said, do you realize you've raised a person that actually wants to go and support humanity out there to be happy? And you should actually be very proud of raising a person that has consciously realized that through acting and singing and music and vibration, she is part of something so powerful that society needs. So it was almost shifting them to see it from a very different perspective, because often it's like, oh my God, my son wants to be a DJ, or oh my God, my daughter wants to, be in musicals. It's never going to happen. And it's like, well, wait a minute, don't focus on that. Focus on the point that they're becoming healers of this. They're contributing to vibrational healing. And you're so right. Go for a dance, go do some singing, and your mood will lift.
Yeah, and I think even just on that point where you said they were like, oh, my son wants to become a DJ, or my daughter wants to we need to take that stigma away from, people generalizing that it is not a correct, decision for them to make. I mean, I feel like as parents, of course, most parents want their kids to be a doctor, a lawyer, something. But the thing is, if that child's calling is to be a healer, and what we do is healing through music, then let them go with it. At the end of the day, like, I feel like it's smart to let them have a backup, some sort of profession that they study as a backup. And, I was really fortunate when I left high school that I'd been working part-time in a hair salon, and I was like, okay, I'll get my apprenticeship. And it was fantastic because I always had a sideline thing, something that I could do and make money, because the industry is up and down. And it is, I'm not going to say that sometimes someone can make it overnight. It's all about you being in tune with. And I feel like when a child comes to a parent and says, I want to do something, artistic or creative or whatever, of course the parents' fear is going to be, but it's not stable. It's not stable. But then, I mean, look at some of the biggest artists in the world are multi-billionaires, etc., because they've gone into the arts, but then they've gone in and opened other businesses and other income streams, etc. I mean, you never know. But I feel like as a parent, you want to protect your child. You want to get them into something safe, but listen to them if it is a calling for them, because what we don't realize, we think musicians are just musically inclined or artists are artistically inclined. But what we don't realize is that they might actually just be healers that don't want to maybe go into, or their calling hasn't been to maybe sit and run a meditation group or to run a yoga studio or whatever. Their calling might be through music or through telling a story, whether it's poetry or, and I mean, I still consider that, an artistic outlet. You can still heal, because words, as we said before, are power, and they're very powerful. So even a poet that's you're listening to those words and it could be transformational for you, because in that moment you're hearing something that's healing for you. And that's the same with songwriting. So yeah, just to any parents out there listening in, if your kid wants to go into something creative and artistic, let them explore it, maybe give them the support to have something as a backup, but let them support it. Because I remember when I was a teenager, my dad saying, oh no, the arts aren't very stable. You don't want to do that. Being a singer is not very stable. And it's like, it's brought me more joy throughout my life than anything else I've ever done, and I've got to travel the world, all over the world. I've traveled, stayed in 5-star hotels, all paid for by my gigs. Like I'll go to do a gig. I've got to see countries. I've learned 3 different languages, well, 2 different languages and one sort of a little bit. But by traveling and being able to go and do what I love, which is, obviously to sing and to create music, I've been able to travel the globe and to bring joy to people all over the world. And, if tomorrow was my last day on this earth and I'm gone, I've left a mark and a gift to people, because they can think of that moment where I remember when she was singing that song, or I remember when she was playing that. I feel that I've, given a gift through my art. And so that's what I'm saying to people that think, oh, it's not stable. Yeah, it's not always stable. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to sugarcoat it. But it is a beautiful gift that each one of us is giving back to, to the earth. So,
Well,
and just on the note with, like, just really quickly, I want to touch on something. Did you want to say something quick, Celeste?
No, you go.
So I just wanted to, talk about also mental health and how, in the industry, there's, well, even outside, but there's a lot of artists that go through mental health issues, musicians, artists, etc. And you can hear that come out sometimes in their lyric writing. Some of the most beautiful lyric writers have the darkest souls and really, really quite deep trajectory of emotions, etc. And it comes out in their songwriting, and you listen to those lyrics and you're like, oh my God. I mean, it will bring you to tears, a line or a lyric, and the angst in their voice and the pain and suffering. You can hear it in people's voices. But again, music is their outlet, and so some people go into like drugs or alcohol or self-harming or anything else, and a musician or a songwriter gets to write that pain down on paper and put it out there, so that, as Sifu said earlier, if you're going through a breakup, you listen to it and you're like, oh my God, I relate to that so much. And it's just like, again, boiling back to how music is healing, even through someone else's pain, and that angst and that pain that you can hear in their voice when they're singing, and you can hear in their lyrics, we are somehow healing people, because you might have gone through a breakup or lost a family member or someone very close to you, a best friend, and that song comes on, and somehow it brings you some moment, even if it's a moment of relief or release, even if it's just so you can cry out those emotions, because that's also very healing to be able to release. And so just on that note, I'm really, really quite, it's a passion project for me to go into, helping youth that are going through mental health issues or depression or like suffering from anxiety or anything, which nowadays seems to be so much more apparent than it was, when we were younger, I guess, through social media and just everyone comparing themselves with what else is going on out there. And we all think that, our life isn't enough because we compare it to what we're looking on social media. But, this is, again, boiling back to how music can be so healing and transformative. So I really want that through learning about frequencies and, again, the vibrational energy and stuff, that people can learn that music can be a healing part for them. They don't have to turn to drugs or alcohol or self-harming or whatever. They can go internal and listen to a certain frequency of music or a certain type of music, and it will lift their energy and it will take them out of that dark place. And as Celeste said, similarly, on the flip side, if they're listening to music about sex and drugs and horrible things and really negative music, it can take them into, a really negative place. I mean, you hear sometimes these kids that are into emos, right? That are into this really dark, very like depressive music and stuff. And they openly talk about how, they're so depressed all the time and they want to self-harm and they want to do this. But listen to the music they're listening to. They're listening to. This is really, really an important point. It's like if you're, obviously you can't force anyone to not do something. Maybe that's their path that they have to go through for their own healing or their own growth or whatever. But the point is, it's just it's such a what's the word I'm trying to think? It's such a an easy way to visualize exactly what we're talking about. You look at these kids, they're all in black and they're goths and they're emos and they're listening to this music that's all about death and depression,
destruction, and
right? And then they're depressed all the time.
Gotta wonder why.
And also, like, on that note,
wow, I just took
that was new.
What was that?
I was like, so like, even because you were mentioning the word, sexuality and sex before, and like some of the lyrics, I mean, sex is a great thing, but what I wanted to say was, when you have very sexual lyrics, there should be a bit of an age understanding as well, because I have parents and they have 12 to 14-year-old girls that are listening to certain lyrics and sing them, and you're almost like, honey, you don't even know yet what you're singing, but it's also it's already enchanting them,
downloading.
It's the wrong energy. It's wrong energy.
So again, you're so aware what you listen to and what you sing to, because you become to what you're singing.
And that's why nowadays a lot of the artists have they have versions which are removing all the swearing and the like their PC friendly versions,
radio version,
versions, but also I mean, even on the albums they have a version that's like it's parental guidance, PG
Explicit,
sort
yeah.
of, version. And I think that's important because, again, as Celeste mentioned, kids at 13, 14 don't want to be dancing to, WAP or whatever.
I don't know what
It's a song that Cardi B, is it Cardi B? Who came out with it? It's the Wet Ass Pussy. It's
Oh,
very sexy. Wet ass pussy. But yeah, I mean,
thank
like,
God this show is 18
I
plus.
wouldn't want my 13-year-old daughter to be dancing around talking about her wet ass pussy. It's
Right.
That's
I
right.
don't want that. But
No.
if you think back to the day when rap started coming out,
Yeah.
right? And mostly rap was about violence, gang violence, all these things. But lately, you hear the difference in rap. It's gone so many different ways that even country singers are now putting
Yeah.
rap, right? But here's also
I
gospel,
like country music.
the gospel, right? So you have church music or Christian music,
Yeah.
and they're using rap just another way to get the message out. But when we think about rap, it's a beautiful thing. But when it talks about the violence and all that stuff, because when it was at one point, it was very prevalent. That's all you heard rap. It got a bad rap, if you will,
Yeah.
right?
Pardon the pun.
Yeah, pardon the
It
pun.
did.
But when we think about it, it's and one of the people that truly started kind of rap was the white girl, which was Blondie, right?
Ah,
Man
yeah.
Eating Cars, remember her?
That boy
So
city that everybody's fine. DJ spinning.
yeah, great song, but she was one of the, and then you think about the way it kind of turned around and went into the negativity, and
Yeah.
then people say, wait a minute, we can turn rap and make it positive, and let's have
Yeah.
fun with it. And so now, recently, I heard a rap song, and I was like, wait a minute, they're talking about God.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Wow.
cool. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, wow. And it
You can
was
send a message
good
through
beat.
anything.
Yeah, it had
Yeah.
great beats, and I was like, wow, that's really neat. So, but it's definitely the words, it's the vibration, it's how we take it in. And
Yeah.
both of you are talking about how a young girl or even a young boy
Yeah.
should not be singing a song that they have zero understanding of, or if they started to understand it, why? Why do
Yeah.
they understand it at that age? They're at the wrong age to be
Yeah.
understanding that concept or those ideas. And sometimes it's because the parents are not really in the picture, right? They're
Yeah.
really not.
Or
Or
they
mama's into it.
Yeah, exactly. Or they have been brought up without that guidance as well, so they're just repeating a pattern. And a lot of the time
Right.
with parenting, if the parents haven't been given that guidance, they won't subject their children to that type of restriction or anything.
Mm.
And so they're listening to that music around the house, not thinking the impact it's having on their children. And then those children go out and join gangs and violence. It's like, again, everything is a seed, right? Everything we listen to, everything we hear, that vibrational energy are all planting seeds in these children. And so this is where I think it's just so important nowadays. You look at, there's schools around the world that are implementing, like little meditation times, and they basically take the kids into a room when they've been naughty. Instead of chastising them and putting them on timeout, they do put them on timeout, but it's in a meditation room. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah. I wish I
Imagine
had to face the wall. We had to stand and face the wall. I still come from those
Yeah,
times.
or be given lines where you'd have to write out. We'd be given like lines. You'd have to write out. I will not talk in class. I will not talk in class. I will not, like a whole page and a half or something of this sort of stuff. I mean, that's not going to stop a child from talking in class. If a child's talkative, I used to sing in class all the time. And honestly, I used to just hum, right? During my maths homework, like just humming. And I'd get sent to the principal constantly for it. Now, the thing is, I wasn't doing it to piss my teacher off. I wasn't doing it. It was part of my energetic thing while I was working. I had a song in my head again. It was my thing. I'd get sent constantly until I changed schools, and then I went to a performing arts school. But like when I went to my first school, like I'd get sent to the principal for that. Now the thing is, there was nothing negative about what I was doing. Yeah, it might have been a little distracting to other people. The teacher just could have said to me, Simonne, keep it down a little bit. But like, what's wrong with a child doing their work and just humming little, in their head? But because we've been conditioned, right? And this is back to conditioning. We've been conditioned that it's got to be this way and it's got to be that way. And then you listen to these kids and they're stifled energetically or creatively. They're being stifled. They're being put in pigeon. I just feel like if these schools, like this meditation room or even a music room, even if they did something wrong and they were put with binaural beats going on in the background, like positive, like lifting their energetic level, sat in a room to sit and meditate and think about what they've done, why these binaural beats are going on and lifting their energetic level. I mean, can you imagine the change in the world if all schools were doing this type of implementing this? Like, wow.
Yeah. I teach Kung Fu, and sometimes I will put on meditative music in the room, right? But other times I put upbeat, like boom, 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 like drumming, high drumming. And you can see the energy in the room differently, right?
Yeah.
And the way I start every class, we drum.
Yeah.
Every class that I start, we
to invoke
drum.
that energetic spirit.
So yeah, we wake them up, and sometimes if the kids are like, I take my cymbals and I go bom bom bom, and we're drumming, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, I'm awake now, let's get to this. But we also end class that way, so they understand that when they come to my class, they're going to have energy coming in, they're going to have energy going out, and then what all the work that has been done in between is so something that they can retain. So that's how I teach, right? So with energy flowing in and then energy coming out as well. So this way they have an experience that they will not get anywhere else.
I love that.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun.
And you'll see kids sometimes being dragged off to sports class or something after school activity. And they've had a long day at school and they might be tired, and they get in there and they, so I feel like that way to start the class and through, like, it's carnal, it's tribal, that beat, that rhythmic beat, lifting that energy. What a great way to start anything,
Anything, that's right. Simonne, tell us about your clients when people come to you online, and we've been speaking about, teenagers and helping them to create their own lyrics to express their emotions instead of expressing their emotions through violence or drugs, but actually singing and writing content. And so tell us a little bit to the whole world, who can contact you? What would you be doing with them? I know each person would be so unique. And in how many languages do you host your clients?
So I do online vocal lessons. And again, we take it even deeper into the psyche of people. Like, obviously we don't start there because that would probably freak people out a little more. But what I mean is, when I've been working with a student for quite a while, we get into limiting self-belief and all those type of things to stop them from, like, I basically give them ways where they can get out of their head and their limiting self-belief and reach a note that they didn't think they could reach, right? Nice. And again, a lot of it is psychology. Okay, so the physiology, which I teach them, the breathing techniques, how to do ear training so that they can pitch well, how to unleash that voice, etc., are all the physical side. But then there's also a really quite important psychological part to it. And again, I mean, you'll hear someone like Anthony Robbins speak about this. He trains like huge athletes and stars before they go on tour and things like that. And he talks about that a lot of the time you need to get someone into a state of believing that they're already there, they're already doing it. You get them into that state. So with my lessons as well, I get my students to find a way that they're like, oh, I can't reach that note, it's too high. And then they literally, we work through a process and they're hitting these notes and they're like, I didn't think I could get there. So I find ways psychologically to also get them into a space of yes, but safely as well, because I don't want them ever like damaging their vocal cords. So I get them, I know where I can take them to, because in the lesson we go up scales and we go down to their bottom register and their top register. I know where I can take them to. And then in a song, I'll push them in that zone because I know that zone. And yeah, you were asking about languages. I haven't yet done any lessons in Spanish or Italian, but I do speak Spanish and Italian. So if someone was tuning in and they spoke Spanish or Italian and wanted to have a lesson, it's something I've worked with musicians that are Italian or Spanish, so I speak to them fluently in that language while we're working together. I've just not had a foreign student yet. But I could do. I'm just explaining the same things in another language. There's no reason why I couldn't be doing it in Spanish or Italian, because I'm proficient enough to be able to speak that and explain what I'm explaining in English. So just with online lessons, you can just email me. And I think you're going to share my email and stuff later. And aside, thank you. And aside from that, there's double N's, 2 N's. Some people get an M, double M. So it's a double N for November. So what I do is I go through, what their goals are. So I look at, what they're looking to get out of it. And I have all different students. I've got DJ students as well. So I'm teaching a friend at the moment who doesn't want to become a professional DJ. He just loves music, absolutely loves house music, really wants to do it. We're doing weekly classes at the moment and he's absolutely loving it. And just being able to express himself through music and have maybe friends over and, DJ at a party or something like that. Some people don't want to be a professional. They just want, like, I've got some singing students that they've literally come to me, their mums, like, in their 40s, like, I've always just wanted to be able to express myself through singing, or just get up at karaoke sometimes or sing or whatever. Or even if I'm just singing in the house or around the house, I want to do it in tune, So again, everybody has their own reason for, expressing themselves through music. It doesn't always just have to be you want to become a professional singer or a professional DJ or a professional musician. You can also just do it it's your stress release, So I do have sometimes students that come and they literally just do it because it's their time out from their family, from their kids. They want to have a stress release. They want to be able to, feel music or get into a spirit where they're releasing tension and stress. And it is, and this is another thing I will point out, it is such a big stress reliever. Like the vibration is amplitude of intensity of energy, and the higher the vibration, the more powerful the energy is. And so ultimately, if you're going and you're allowing that vibrational energy to be released in a positive way, right, it's so stress relieving. Like, I've got one thing, hang on, I wanted to just read something out that I looked up Can you still see me?
And then we're gonna wrap it up because we actually went a
we're gonna
little
wrap it,
longer.
We can talk about it for look, just contact me if you've got any questions or anything like that. But
Yes.
I just on that note, there's just so many different like positive attributes to singing. It's stress relieving, it releases endorphins, it actually builds your immune system. Now I have fact sheets on these. If anyone wants them, you can always hit me up on the email address that Celeste just put across the bottom, and I can send you some actual like research information about how positive and how healing singing is for people.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so much, both of you. It was such a great chat.
Ooh,
So lovely to meet you,
absolutely.
Simmone.
Thank you so much for being here and bringing the vibes.
Yes,
Oh,
bringing the Sydney vibe.
love
Yes.
it. Sending you both lots of love. And
I
it was
received
great.
it. Oh.
Yes. And that's another thing, be in the receiving mode as well, allowing yourself to receive it.
Yeah, that's important. You need to be able to receive. Right?
I've received a lot. This has been a beautiful chat. So I've received lots of love from you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you.
Okay.
All right, everybody, have an exceptional day.
Have an exceptional day and evening for you, Celeste.
That's right. Okay. Bye.
Bye, gorgeous souls.